Kite with a Girl. A short story. Confessing with a long-drawn smile, my old friend Roy, of the dark glasses, pulled in his legs to make room for a lady and her toy dog to walk past, and told me how, when he was a young lad, in the absolute springtime of everything, he had an imaginary girlfriend named Cindy. I just made her up, he said. We were totally in love. She'd meet me down the corner, we'd go for walks, or I'd see her at the bus shelter after school. He did suppose she was based somewhat upon girls he liked on TV, but she was otherwise a creation of his imagination and his hormones. The confession made me recall a late summer wonderment when I was approximately 14. For whatever geological reasons, there was a strip along the cliff top beyond our farm, a pocket protected from the salt wind that grew especially lush clover. Then there was the sea. We lived on the coast. At the time, my older brother David was in jail. Matters took a tense turn at home. We kept a house cow named Emily. To make things worse, she lost a calf that summer, and David would usually have tended her because he loved Emily. But I led her by leash up to the clover patch on the cliff top many afternoons, hoping it would make her fulsome again. The home paddock was scruffy by late summer. She needed feed. And because my older brother David was in jail, and matters had taken a tense turn at home, I sat sky watching and grass fiddling and thinking, while Emily put her nose in clover. The cliff edge was severe and nearby. If I left her unattended, there was no fencing. Cows are not reckless like goats, but they are dreamy and can walk off cliffs oblivious. Over this cliff was a drop of hundreds of feet to the sandy beach where the green sea put on white lipstick. It was not a blustery spot though, because of the shape of things, but rather a pocket, as I say, protected from the salt winds. I'm sitting there thinking that particular afternoon, and Emily is munching away, and there is the sound of the sea below, and the smell of sodium, the air being coastal, the sun being pale yellow, when I hear a flapping. But quickly I'm not thinking it is a seabird or a gull, and not a natural sound, but more the flapping of paper or plastic. It is impossible at first to locate, but that is because it is, at first, hidden below the cliff edge. Then, like a phoenix, or the lanky moon, or a ship top, or an uprisen Osiris, over the lip of the cliff edge flapped and tarried windward a kite. It was white and black with a tail and a golden eye, and it was making a flapping racket, except that it was also equipped with a whistle through which the wind whistled and hummed, tuneless but eerie, as it flapped and flew and fell. I could see the string. The kite flyer was on the beach below and was lifting the kite into the updraft. It climbed the cliff, poked its golden eye over the edge, and then kicked into the free air. I stood up to better watch its dancing dip and rise. Emily gave it no attention. It became a sea eagle. It hovered and took delight in the eddies. It swooped down, made a long roll in the air, and then caught the updraft again, where the sea breathes onto the cliff. Its sound, other than the taut, loud flap, was aeolian, the lungs of the sea breeze wailing evocations intermittently through its pipes. Such a music is made to be heard by the kite master, but I am hearing it at ear level as it rises above the cliff top. It is the sea eagle's song to the often howling winds. I watched and listened for a long time and wondered who belonged to the kite. In order to see the kite flyer, however, would involve stepping right up to the cliff edge and its loose tuffets and looking down. Otherwise there was a path further round, didn't go to the beach, but did give a view back onto the cliff front and that portion of the cove. Not wanting to leave Emily unattended too long, I hiked the path at a pace and then hurried back. but it gave me a view of the kite flyer. It was a girl. She was wearing a blue vest and black beanie, but she was far away. I could see her commanding the kite, making it climb and go whoosh and whistle, riding the updraft. I realised that it was, of course, a good place to fly kites, where the sea breathes onto the cliff. It was just from that one distant view that she also took my heartstrings. "It's a girl," I said, "the best possible flyer of kites." I only watched her distantly for a few minutes, but she seeped into mythology, the kite girl. By the time I went back to Emily, the kite girl was beautiful beyond the blue sky, so I told the cow. I confided private things to Emily. There was a golden-eyed sea eagle swooping kite whistling in my skies every suitable day in those late summer weeks. It was kite flying season. Watching the kite close up, as it were, and in flight, I could observe all its motions, how it would burst from elegant to frenzied, from a sustained glide into a sudden dive as it dropped into a pressure hole, how it would arch up in nobility, the royalty of the air, tugging stringwards, rolling, the eagle eye looking around for clouds. Some further times, leaving Emily clover munching, I would hurry down again to see the kite girl. She was more or less in the same position whenever she was there, give or take a few 100 yards to catch the wind. Sometimes she had a box with her, other times not. She was always alone. Usually she was still, and she constrained the kite in its dance. But there were times, once or twice, when she seemed lifted up and she moved, walking or running, following. She was having fun. It came as a revelation to me one day that her name was Kite. I woke up with it on my lips. Kate Kite was her name. I met Kate Kite on the beach one day, I did. She was cute, Kate Kite, and she let me hold the string and feel the wind, and we laughed and talked about altitudes with sophistication, and we impressed each other with our attunements and fell in love then and there, as witnessed by the waves, and we flew kites together, 2 kites kissing, and planned to run away because the wind is free. For several months, Kate Kite was the seashore of my dreams. One time, the whistle pierced through all my shields. All I could think about was Kate Kite, and the eye of gold taunted me. I was sure she was down on the beach, relaying messages upwards. "Why don't you go down and say hello to Kate?" the kite whistled going past. "I'm afraid," I replied. "What are you afraid of?" wailed the wind in its pipes, coming back. "I don't know. Kate might really like you. You never know." And it sailed off, zooming out. "Doubt it," I said, sour. The kite zoomed back and fluttered. "Kate might be lonely on the end of this string. You never know." It whistled away. "Obviously," I said to Roy of the dark glasses. The kite didn't actually say that, although it did whistle, but I absolutely believed it spoke, and that was what it said. Not immediately, but by that night it was a definite memory. In fact, it was a few years later that I remembered it again and had to say to myself, "Oh yeah, that kite didn't really speak," and had a laugh at my own expense. Amazing how permeable the imprint. The first time Cindy and me kissed, Roy laughed. I nearly came in my pants. At this point, as more pedestrians ambled with toy dogs along the Park Avenue, I decided to add, David ran away. He didn't like living on the farm. He loved the cow though. But yeah, he got himself into trouble. Then I continued explaining that one afternoon, going to the clover strip along the cliff top, without Emily this time, the kite was flaunting itself much further away in the air drifts that day. But I decided to walk around to the beach. I say around because the only satisfactory path, avoiding any sudden drop, was via the back road, and it came to the beach deeper into the cove. Then I would have to walk back along the beach to where Kate was kiting, but I only made it halfway down the back road. I lost my gall. My step went slow. It was a silly idea. I went home. In my real-time aching, approximately 14 fantasy, I walked up to her like they do on TV and said, as casual as you please, "Hello, Kate." And she knew instantly that the four winds and the wild zephyrs had conspired to bring us together. It was her idea that we sail off in a sailboat, far away from late summer's scruffy paddocks. "Did you ever meet her?" asked Roy. "No, I have no idea who she was," I said. When late summer gave way to autumn, the updraft was empty and she was gone. She was at least half a mile away in the sea mist every time I gazed at her, and yet I would contest her sea eagle flew much closer. She never saw me, Kate Kite, except through the golden eye. You know, I had to laugh. Even now, I'd count her among my girlfriends. I have to remind myself that I didn't know her at all. "Cindy and I would go boating on the lake," said Roy, "and those paddle boats for lovers, you know the ones?" "I do," I said. We both laughed. Then we fell quiet for the next few minutes.